Hi everyone, and welcome back for another watercolor class. So today you can see that we are going to do a little cute slice of watermelon, and I think I might do a couple of watermelon like different ways, like if you wanted to, like for some different little card ideas. So we'll see how that goes. So I would look for those here over the next couple of days, maybe after this one. So I'm not really going to draw anything in on this because you basically were concentrating on a triangle shape. What are the key things that you really need to keep in mind of? Having a little bit of highlight here is going to be part of what's going to help with making that distinction between the front and the side of the watermelon. So I'm going to pull out my magenta. Okay. And I'm going to start off, just pick up a little bit so it's nice and light. And then here's where I'm going to come and just kind of lay on the size that I want. Now this bottom edge, as I come along, this is where I want to keep it slightly irregular along there. And then it's going to be important while this is wet to go ahead and just pull that around so everything's nice and smooth, that I don't have any like distinctive brush marks here. And I think, it's a little bit of an awkward angle for me. Fill that in right there. Okay. So I'm going to let that dry a little bit, and then down here on the bottom part of the rind, I can go ahead and bring in just the slightest little hint. Take a little tiny bit of yellow ochre and a little bit of cadmium yellow. And I want just the lightest hint of color. So I'm going to make sure I've got my brushes clean, and just that tiniest bit here. Okay, so down here below this, I'm going to kind of and some watermelons have thicker rinds than others. So on this part here, so I've kind of followed that contour there, and then I'll need to bring it out in line up to here. I'm going to let that dry. And since this has had a little minute to dry, I can lay in this little kind of sidewall a little bit so they won't bleed together and kind of be a mess. So here's where, again, I want to be mindful and leave a little bit of white space. Okay, so we're going to come across this way. Fill this in, just smoothing out all my strokes. Okay. And I'm going to go over this again too. I'll probably bring a little bit of crimson into it next time, or you could just do it in crimson depending on what your color options are. Okay, so I'm going to do that little return here on the yellow part. And just I've got that white space there in between that. I think this needs to come down a little bit more to kind of emphasize that corner there. Okay, so this here I can see is still fairly wet, so I'm going to come back up and add a little bit into this top part. So if I bring just a little bit, this is my crimson here. So if I bring just a little bit of that now in with my magenta. And again, I'm going to just come right in. Add another layer. This is still slightly damp. And I'll probably leave the side a little lighter on this side, right in here. I always look for ways like how can I shift my color and make it like interesting, bring a little artistic value into it. Okay, and then here on this return, and if you lose some of that, you could always come in with a little bit of a gel pen or some white and just kind of highlight that up a little bit. All right, so this has had time to dry down here, and I come in with my sap green. And here's where I'm going to just come and put in that line. And I will definitely come and put another layer over that to intensify it. Now, on your seeds, it looked like I just used black here. I would say like a better, truer color would be to use a little bit of your burnt umber with just a tiny bit of black. Still more. Let's go a little more of this here. There you go. I like that color there. Now this is still damp. You know, I can feel by how much. So I'm going to start over here where my paper is a little bit drier. And just give that a little extra minute. And on my seeds, kind of want to make them a little more like that teardrop shape. And I can kind of put them in, you know, randomly. You know, they're not going to always be in like perfect rows, so don't worry about trying. If you do that, they're going to look kind of cuter if they're a little more random. You know, sometimes you have a seed and you know it might be kind of sideways to you, so it might be a little thinner. Some we might see more of. So it's okay to make them kind of slightly different. They all don't need to be cookie cutter shapes of each other. And let's do one more here. I'll let that dry, and I'll probably come with maybe just a little bit of black and just give, touch those up just a little bit. And I did just smear that. Okay. So if you do something like this, you can always come in. It is still a little wet, so I blotted it first, and then now I'm just coming in with a damp brush. And I'm just going to blot right up against there. So that's pretty well lifted out. So there are ways to fix those mistakes. This part here is still fairly wet. So if I'm going to come back into it, notice I've been picking my paint up a little drier. You know, there's no movement to it. And I can just kind of darken along this edge. This is still really wet here. I can see how much it's shining at me. I may need to wait until that dries a little bit. Again, with the watercolor like this, you always could come and add a few little splatters. So I'll leave that up to you. I'll give you, this is what it looks like without, and I just think that makes it kind of fun and whimsical, and I might even put a few there on top. There we go. And I think I just want to hit my rind maybe just one more time with a little bit of color. Alright, and I think I'm going to go ahead and do another watermelon option, and so I'll probably just leave these same colors on my palette, and I hope you'll join me for that one.